After losing his now late wife Naomi, Richard thought that he would never be a father. But out of almost, he got this chance when he had the opportunity of adopting a homeless boy named Daniel. He took him to his home, and they lived together for 2 very happy months. But when doing the laundry, Richard found a wedding ring in Daniel's pocket. He could not believe where Daniel had gotten this from. Even though it had been 10 years since he had last seen it, there was no doubt in his mind. This was his late wife's old wedding ring. But how the hell did Daniel get his hands on it? Richard knew that he did not have it in the house. His late wife Naomi had taken it with her when he lost her. But before we start, make sure to subscribe if you haven't and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Richard had still not gotten over the death of his beloved wife Naomi, which happened about 10 years ago. They had so money plans for their future together that now would never come to fruition, and most of these plans he could easily get over. But one still haunted his mind every single day, and that was their desire to have children together. When they got married, they had started trying to get pregnant immediately, but did not have any luck. And after a lot of deliberating, he decided to go for an alternative method. It was very much against their protocol to let a single father adopt any children. He clearly had to try another way. Richard had been pondering his options for days. Richard felt hopeless, but then out of nowhere, he suddenly saw somebody, and it almost felt like a sign from God. There was a young boy sitting on the side of the street with a sign in front of him. He was begging for somebody to help him, and Richard just felt like he was the person that was supposed to do this. He could not be a day older than 12, and maybe even younger. How could a child end up all alone on the street with nobody to help him? He smiled at him and then sat down beside him. The boy was very confused at first, but that did not stop him. And the boy was very reluctant at first, as he did not know if he could trust Richard. They carefully shook hands, and the boy introduced himself as Daniel. And this was the final sign for Richard, as Daniel was actually the name he and Naomi would have wanted to give their firstborn son if they were to be blessed like that. He wanted nothing more now than to win this young boy's trust. He had been there before, and he absolutely hated it. He would rather stay on the street. But he did not want to tell Richard how he ended up on the street in the first place. But he did not want to deliberate on things long. He told the boy his own story, about his late wife and that he wanted to adopt a child, but no agency would help him. And eventually, he told the boy that he wanted to adopt him. Daniel agreed. But after recovering from the initial surprise, Daniel actually did not have to think long about Richard's offer. He stuck his hand and told him that he would love to be adopted by Richard. Richard himself could of course not be happier. He went from having no chance of ever becoming a father to suddenly having a son. It was almost too good to be true. There was, of course, still a long way to go for the pair, but Richard was confident that he would be able to cross every difficult bridge when they got to it. As they sat down to eat, the clinking of cutlery and the warmth from the hearth seemed to wrap around them, a gentle embrace of new beginnings. Daniel's eyes widened with the first bite, a mixture of surprise and contentment that mirrored the family dinners of Richard's memories. Under the early evening sky, the kitchen table became their sanctuary of learning. Richard, with patient explanations, helped Daniel grapple with algebraic formulas and historic dates. The furrow between Daniel's brows eased with each solved equation, a reflection of the trust that bloomed with every shared problem. Sometimes in the quiet moments, Richard caught a look in Daniel's eye, a way of frowning when concentrating or a small smirk, and he would be struck by a sense of déjà vu. It was like glancing at Naomi through a mirror of time. These reflections weren't just fleeting images, they were pieces of a puzzle that Richard was slowly, perhaps subconsciously, piecing together, each one contributing to the growing picture of a mysterious and deepening bond. Sometimes, while watching families in the park, Daniel would fall silent, his eyes tracing the interactions with a mixture of wistfulness and desire. These moments of longing did not escape Richard's notice. They spoke of a child's yearning for what was absent, for the familial bond that Daniel now sought with Richard. Daniel's stories of his early years were like brushstrokes on a canvas, depicting a life full of color and emotion. While tidying Daniel's room, Richard's hand brushed against a small framed photo tucked away in the drawer. It was Naomi, her eyes as lively in the photo as they were in his memory. The discovery sent a pulse through him, a flicker of connection that tied the present moment to a past long gone. How did Daniel come to possess this image of a woman he should have no memory of? The image of her, so familiar and yet now laced with mystery, stirred a sea of questions in Richard's mind. What thread connected Daniel to Naomi, and why was it kept hidden? If Daniel and Naomi were connected, what did that mean for all the years of love and loss? Richard's breath hitched as he pulled the unmistakable band of gold from Daniel's pocket, the very ring he had slipped onto Naomi's finger all those years ago. How had this token, heavy with memories and promises, found its way into the hands of a boy who shouldn't know its weight? The ring was a symbol of their shared past, but now it was a catalyst for doubt. The weight of it in his palm was a testament to the gravity of the questions it posed. The silence broke like glass when Richard presented the ring to Daniel, whose eyes widened with recognition. Richard's world spun as he learned the truth that Daniel was the son of Naomi, born from an affair wrapped in secrecy. His knees felt weak. The revelation was a chasm that threatened to swallow him whole. Daniel's words painted a picture of Naomi's life, one Richard had never known, a tapestry of love, betrayal, and desperation. It was as if Naomi had risen from the dead, her presence now a ghostly whisper through Richard's shock. As Richard read, the woman he knew, the woman he loved, became a stranger. That Naomi could fabricate her own death and leave a son in the shadows was a wound reopened, raw and bleeding. It was a narrative spun from the threads of pain and surprise, of love lost and found. They were not just father and son, but the keepers of Naomi's legacy, and together they started to mend the tears in the fabric of their lives. Richard and Daniel pored over them, finding solace in her candid admissions and explanations. The letters offered a glimpse into the heart of the woman they both loved, bridging the gap she had left behind. Together, Richard and Daniel traced the contours of the life Naomi had lived away from them. Each memory, each choice she had made, was a puzzle piece they placed together, constructing the image of a life divided. With the past laid bare, Richard and Daniel faced the future, a road now cleared of the debris of mystery. They allowed themselves to grieve for what was lost, to rage against the deception, but also to celebrate the unexpected joy of their newfound bond. Hand in hand, they stepped into a new chapter, determined to forge a path illuminated by the truth, together. The truth had been a storm, but in its wake, Richard and Daniel found a calm. They were bound not by the pain of the past, but by the heartstrings of understanding and acceptance. As they looked to the horizon, their relationship was a testament to the strength of love and forgiveness. The story of Naomi, Richard, and Daniel was not one of tragedy, but of a complex tapestry of life, woven with the colors of resilience and hope.